right, welcome to the second episode of We Forge On. Today I am welcomed with Raptor ATX, Hangry Pixels, and for the first time, Boothby is on with us. So Boothby, you can go ahead and intro yourself. We read your Twitch blurb on the last episode, but if you want to go ahead and just talk a little bit about yourself, your community, and then we'll go ahead and get into the topic.
Sure. Hey, thanks for having me, guys. I'm glad to be here finally. I didn't even think I was going to be able to, but I'm sitting in a car. I've got 5 to 10 minutes to myself, so I'm going to give it to you guys. So I am Boothby, Twitch streamer. Still trying to figure out what that means. I'm pretty new to the game. Been streaming mostly Call of Duty, Warzone. I've thrown in a little bit of what I've always loved in playing gaming, and that's like story adventure games. Like I was playing Horizon Forbidden West a lot. But I'm still trying to find my niche. I'm streaming on a PS4 right now, so I don't have a camera. I don't have overlays, setups, and stuff like that. So I'm still working on my brand. I'm just trying to put out the best content that I can for what I have. Just be there. And build a community, meeting people who come into my stream, meeting people in other streams, and just getting to know people. That's what I love about it. Meeting the people, building a vibe, building a relationship with my audience, which it's not a huge audience right now, but hey, for what I am, for having been streamed since this December of 2021, I've already got a little over 100 followers. And I average around 5-6 viewers per stream. So I mean and I have fun while I do it. So that's the important part for me, is having fun and getting to know people. So I know listening to the first broadcast, y'all were also doing a little blurb about how you got your name. So now I got to put on my nerd hat, so you guys know what this is. My name Boothby stems from I was playing an online game on mobile, which is called Star Trek Fleet Command. It's a strategy-based online game, PvP, PvE type stuff. And I was part of an alliance, and there's a lot of alliances, and in games like that, you have drama, and you have conflict, especially when there's PvP elements. And we had a couple of alliances that were really at each other's throats. And I was kind of in the middle. I was on one side, but I had friends on the other side, and I was trying to be the voice of reason. My original screen name was JMD Texan, because that's where I am. I'm in Texas, great state of Texas, born and raised, no plans to leave until my wife makes me. I can't hear you, Raptor. I hear you. I see you talking. But anyway, I changed my name in the game to kind of be a middle ground, a voice of reason. And I was kind of like in the ear of the leaders of different alliances, and I was talking to them. So I came up with the name Boothby because it's a Star Trek game. And in the Star Trek world, people who know Star Trek, nerd, and in the Next Generation series, the Captain Picard, his mentor when he was in the Starfleet Academy was named Boothby, and he was like a humble groundskeeper. That's all he did. He was a groundskeeper at the Academy, and throughout all Star Trek lore, you find out that other captains have all been mentored by this one guy, and just kind of like a legend at the Academy, and he was a humble dude, and that was kind of the persona I wanted to go for. I wanted to be the humble guy that gave advice to people. So that gave birth to Boothby, and then I kept the name. I liked it. I thought it was I started playing Call of Duty again, and my name first there was PFC Boothby. It just sounded like a name a private would have in the Army, So I went with PFC Boothby, and you know, I eventually just shortened it back to Boothby so I could keep my screen name consistent across all platforms. But that was the birth of my screen name. So
All right, that is awesome. All right, so I didn't really tell a whole lot of people what the subject matter of today's episode was going to be about. It was originally going to be about the whole Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial, kind of talk about little highlights here and there about the trial, and then transition over to like talk about domestic violence. But I had a situation that happened last night that kind of dictated me pivoting to a different direction. So today we'll be talking about suicide, the fallout that happens because of it. We lay down some stats, talk about charities and helplines that you can use when you're in crisis. I know it's a really, sour subject for some people, whether you in the past, attempted suicide, or you knew someone that, tried to attempt suicide, or even if you had people in your life that actually committed suicide and you get to live on the other side of that. So I know it's kind of a sore subject, talk about, it's going to be, bring a lot of people down. And then towards the end, we'll have like a fun question to kind of just bring the spirits back up. But this will be a 2-part episode. So today we'll have ATX Raptor, Hangry Pixels, prize guest from Boothby. And then the next episode, I will be one-on-one conversation with Tier Milner. So, yeah. Yeah, so to kind of put things in perspective.
Hey, real quick.
Yeah, what's up?
You said my name backwards.
Oh, you're right.
Boothby, I have a question for you real quick before we get into this, okay? This is going to be some heavy stuff, all right? I got a question for you. You came into my stream with the name JMD Texan, didn't you?
no.
Yes, you did. And he came into my stream with JMD Texan. I was like, oh, hey, how's it going, bud? And I just went on about my day, not even knowing. He was incognito lurking back in the day. This is a while ago.
He was scouting.
This man was creeping, scoping me out, man.
So there is a reason for that.
As soon as you said that, I was like, you son of a bitch. Damn it, Boothby.
So I have 2 phones. I have, my personal phone, and I have a work phone. And I have Twitch downloaded on both so I can watch. And I use the other one so that I can test stuff. I use JMD Texan when I'm, testing out different things and I want to see how it looks on my stream to a viewer.
Okay. Oh, so you don't want to test people's patience?
Yeah, and every once in a while, I just pick it up because my alert will go off that somebody's live, and I don't think about it, and then I'll say, hey, and act like they know who I am, and they're just like, oh, hey, welcome, JMD Test. I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm on a different account. They don't know it's me. So
you could have said something.
I could have, but I also don't want Twitch to, get mad at me for having multiple accounts,
Working.
Yeah. Because that's not the purpose of it, so...
All right, real quick, Soaring, can you hear my audio better than last week? Last week it was a little bit far away because the mic was way over there instead of up in my face.
Yeah, you sound great. And then Hangry sounds at the adequate level.
I hope I sound better today.
You do?
Yes.
I have you set to 200%.
Yeah,
last week. Well lit.
Last week,
mic.
Discord likes to set it for this microphone here, which is the most awful microphone in the world because it picks up everything but my voice. But actually, we're using this one today. So
except the 5 o'clock shadow rustling.
Yeah, yeah. I'm looking at myself. Man, I have not shaved in a few days. That looks awful.
Yeah, me either. This is clean. I gotta have this because the wife says I look 12 without it.
We don't want that.
No.
I look 13 with it.
I'm looking down at my phone.
Looking great, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm looking down at my phone going, God, where did this double chin come from?
Look up at your phone. Now it'll go away like this.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, there we go.
So the reason why I kind of pivoted towards this is so yesterday I had a friend of mine. He was in a moment of crisis. He was, life was kind of kicking him in the, I guess I can say it. Life was really kicking him in the dick, and he was not doing well. He was in a really bad state of mind, and sometimes you just kind of have to drop what you're doing and help out where you can. And so when I got done with the situation, and I'll talk about like some of the things that I do, because this is not the first time I've talked someone out of crisis. So I kind of have an idea of like how to go about doing it. There's a couple steps that I recommend doing, and obviously, don't just push a helpline on them. Then that's just going to make them do the opposite of that. But yeah, so without going into names, he was really in a crisis. He was talking about, wanting to kill himself. He said that life was easier without him. And, I'm going to tell you first and foremost, life is never easier without you. Because I know Raptor can tell you, I know I have a couple people in my life that, they did the unthinkable and life is, not the same. I'd rather have them with me than without. So I had to really talk them out of the situation. It was really heart pounding. Like, Faith can tell you, I was probably, maybe I was visually shaking, but like, it was a really tough situation to be in. Even though this is not the first time I've done it, it's a really tough situation to be in because one slip up and then they get the wrong impression and then they do the unthinkable. So, so if anybody has any stories they want to jump in, I'm going to pull up the messages and kind of go over like the things that I talked about in order to kind of help talk them out of the crisis.
So I'm short on time, so I'm just going to say something real quick in that, I've been fairly blessed in my life. I've known two people at a distance that have done that, and it is heartbreaking, and it's broken my heart. And one thing, and I've got to drop off here, but I'd love to see you guys talk about too is, there are, multiple conversations to have here, I think, and one that, the situation you had where you had to talk to somebody who was in crisis. And then for me, the hard part has been, how do I talk to the survivors? It's hard, it's like, hey, I'm sorry that happened. What else do you say? It's a hard feeling to not know, to know that there's nothing you can say in a moment that will help with the grief and the survivors of, someone who has done the unthinkable. And that's been one of the hardest things for me is how do I counsel, I would love, a perspective from somebody who has been through that as a survivor. What helped you? How could I, as an outsider of your family, of your immediate close circle of who was affected by this situation, how can someone help? And then, of course, how do you help people who are in crisis too? Because I think those are two slightly different pieces of the conversation that I would like to hear from this podcast. If you guys keep, as you guys continue forth without me after I have to drop off here in just a minute.
Yeah, we'll definitely try and cover that. I don't know, maybe it won't be this episode. It might be the next episode, or we might touch bases on it in a future episode. But definitely, having to talk to the survivor of a situation is very hard because you don't want to say the wrong things, and then that person is triggered and they have to relive that moment of trying to talk their person out of that crisis. I know I've been in a situation like that where someone was talking to me and immediately brought back memories of me trying to do what I can, sending all the information, and then finding out it was kind of for naught. The mental health space can be really, really tricky to navigate, and sometimes you have to kind of come up with your own tricks to kind of navigate it. Like the one thing I like to do is I will quickly let the person know I'm here for you. everything that you're going through is valid. You always want to make sure that the other person knows that whatever they're feeling in that moment, it's valid. Because as soon as you try to talk down on the situation, they think that you are kind of trying to like take control of the situation, and then they don't feel like they have any control. And then of course they're going to do the opposite, because they're going to do the unthinkable, because in that moment, if they take things into their hands, then they kind of get that control back. Don't want to, you never want to put someone in a situation like that. So you always want to make sure that their feelings are valid. Too often they feel like they, whatever they're going through is not heard. Much like in the situation. Yeah, much like in the situation I was in yesterday too.
If they're coming to you with this issue, and you just dump a hotline on them, or while you might mean well, they might think that as they're just getting pushed off, pushed aside, and that you're not really listening. So yeah, that'd be listening to them and letting them know that they are valid, and everything that they're feeling is valid, is important.
How you feeling, Raptor? This is kind of hard.
I can feel you staring at me.
Yeah. No, I'm not trying to call you out. I'm just trying to make sure you're okay.
Yeah, I'm okay. Yesterday was a tough day. But,
yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, but I mean, this is the kind of conversation that needs to be had. There's a lot of people out there suffering in silence, and even Robin Williams said that the reason why comedians are so good at what they do is because they have a dark past. They know what it feels like to feel worthless, and they don't want anybody else to feel that way. The best comedians have the darkest past. If you come at it from that perspective, it's a lot easier to put yourself in their position, and then figure out what you would change, what you would say differently, what direction you would go. It's been 8 years for me. My little brother committed suicide. So I've had 8 long years to think of every single contingency, and I've also been through the fallout and the grief and the spiral and all kinds of stuff. So it's I'm in a unique position, I guess.
Yeah. So kind of go into talking about the situation from yesterday. Like I said, I'm not going to give names, but I was just, the person asked on Twitter, can someone just please message me? And that's, for me, that's immediately a red flag. He's just looking for somebody to talk to. I know I get into moments where I want to talk to somebody, but I don't really feel like I have a voice. And so, I immediately reached out to him, just, hoping everything is okay. And then first thing, everything is not okay. So immediately I'm going, all right, so which way could this go? He could just be having a really shitty day, or it could be like going down the spiral. Knowing a little bit about the person's history, but just by me seeing their social medias, I could see that the dark spiral start to happen. I just didn't know where at in that spiral they were. So I just I apologized. I said, I'm sorry, bro. Asking if there was anything I can do to help. And the first thing the person asked was, do you happen to know a hitman? So then I was like, all right, I know where this is going. They are they're in the I don't want life no more option. But they don't want, but by asking for a hitman, Faith, later admitted that it's not that they wanted to end their own life. They would rather just have someone end it for them, because they didn't want to kill themselves. They just wanted to be done, but not by their hand. So the gears really started spinning. So I kind of got, asked what was going on. I talked about how life sucks. They got off their meds, tried to save their dog, and their dog ended up dying on them. Just, kind of feel like life was in shambles for them. And And then the very last thing he said is, all I want to do is fucking die. So then this is where I took the turn, and I needed to. So I saw that they were heading, like a fork in a road. They were heading in the path that no one wants them to take. So this is the moment where, I felt that I needed to kind of redirect them to the opposite way. So I told them, I was like, first off, you're not allowed to quit. I know life is going to kick your ass. Things are not going to work out, but there's never an excuse to quit on life. Think about the people that you leave behind. So you have to be a little hard on these people, because they're not really thinking that rational. And this is just my mindset. This is not how everyone thinks when they're in these kind of situations. Think about the people you're going to leave behind. Suicide might release you from this hard life, but the ones that you leave behind will be the ones devastated. So I knew that he had a significant other. There's other people in his life that care about him. So I had to I had to punch the point through, saying, if you do this, you're going to leave a whole mess of people devastated. And then I said, secondly, you're always welcome, in whatever we're doing, welcome you with open arms. And I was like, I'm sorry your dog died. Loss is hard, and I can't fathom how you're feeling. Your feelings and hurt is valid, and I'm here for you if you need to call or text. And then just said that, no, you're not alone. It was at that moment, I just picked up Faith from her Bible class. I was sitting in the car. I could feel my hand trembling. I didn't know if it actually visibly showed that it was trembling. It was my heart was wrenching at that moment, because I didn't want to mess up, because at that moment I could feel like they really wanted to do this. I know that they're a gun nut, so they have guns. So I know that they have tools at home that can do the deed. And I was like, I don't give my phone number out very often to anybody. Work, family, and very, very, very few friends do I give my phone number to. And I gave my number to him. Yep, Raptor's got my number. But I told him, I said, hey, if you want to call or text, I'll give you my number. You just let me know when you're ready to talk. Because at this moment, I'm trying to talk them down from the cliff. Then they start mentioning that they feel alone. They feel like the suicide is the best option. They said that, how they're feeling is more than just about this dog. They're just talking about their life in general. And that they've been strong for too long. They just don't know how much longer they can go. So this is where I start to ramp things up with my responses, making sure that I don't let his message last for longer than a minute. Because you don't want those feelings to fester. Because then that just further puts them at that moment where they feel alone. Because they already told me that they feel alone. And if I let one message go longer than a minute or 30 seconds, or however long, then they feel like they're alone again. So this is where my heartbeat really started to ramp up. When I messaged Raptor about this situation last night, this was me coming down from the situation. My heartbeat, my watch was telling me my heart rate was 120. Felt like it was pulsing out of my chest. It was a lot to take in. But these are kind of the situations you have to deal with if you have somebody like this. I'm not saying that this person is like this all the time. I'm just saying that in this particular situation, you can't leave them alone at all. You have to, keep telling them you love them. Keep telling them that they're worthy of love, worthy of, good things. Just right now, life sucks. I understand that, things are hard. You got to get through it, and just, you can't just take the easy road out of things. And so, I was just, and then he was just, he told me he couldn't call for 2 hours because he was still at work. I told him, I was like, hey, you know what? I'll stay up. I'll wait till you're ready to talk over the phone. I'll give you my number when that's the case. And, then I can kind of start to see a turn in the conversation, because now he's switching to talking about himself. Now he's talking about me. He says, you don't have to do this. And then this is where I sent the second punch. I was like, bro, I have to do this. And he knows I'm on this podcast, and I told him this is the whole point for the podcast. I was like, if I can save one life, why can't it be yours? And this is the moment where I felt like things started to go in the direction that I was trying to lead the whole conversation. You know, I was like, I'll talk to you as long as you need. Like, I had to get up at like 6:30 in the morning, but you know, your situation calls for me to stay up till 1 to talk to you, I'll do it. Now, will my next day at work suck? Yup. But you know what? That's what rock stars are for. So I, you know, then, you know, I know that we're in the turning point because now he's still talking about me. He's not talking about himself anymore. He's talking about me. He says, you know, you're too good of a friend. I don't deserve you. I was like, well, guess what? Too bad. You're stuck with me and I ain't letting go. That was that for me felt like kind of like the third punch. I knew that I was getting somewhere. I knew that we got past the hump. Now we're kind of back, you know, kind of trying to get him back into a healing stage. And so then not a whole lot big comes up. I redirect the conversation, you know, kind of talk about like what are things that you're looking forward to. You know, they're talking about they're looking forward to sports coming back up, talking about you know, they have you know, the new PS5. They were excited about the games that they're going to play with that. They kind of asked about, you know, some of the games that I like to play. I mentioned that, you know, Final Fantasy is one of my favorites. And then, you know, we took the conversation, we sent it in a direction of positivity versus getting them out of the mindset of negativity. I know that doesn't work for everybody. That's just something I did. So I don't know if maybe the steps that I took could possibly help someone in need. Like I said, we'll also talk about here soon. We'll talk about charities. We'll talk about, you know, different stats to help you kind of see how big of a problem this really is. And then we'll also give the helplines at the end. I'll also make sure that any helpful information is put in the show notes, just so that you have it. And definitely copy and paste it and post, you know, put it somewhere where you know you're going to be able to pull it up, if whether that's Google Keeps or like the Apple Notes app, just anything that you can keep this information so it's always in your pocket if you need it, because you never know when you're going to need to give somebody a helpline. You never know when you're going to you know, kind of use the steps that we use to talk people out of situations. So that whole conversation led to me wanting to pivot today's episode towards this, as mental health is huge, and especially for, you know, like the stats are going to show, especially for like middle-aged white men, it is super hard. And it's not because like there's something unique about us. It's just like for so long, you know, we've been considered on top, and now that things are kind of turning to shit. Yeah, I see you shaking your head, but that's right. Like, for a society, the white men have been on top, but we're not. We're all in different spots. The only people on top are the billionaires, the millionaires. Us guys here in the trenches, you know, doing the 9 to 5 every single day, trying to make it work. It gets hard, and especially when we don't feel like we have a voice, or we don't feel like we can talk about the problems that we have. I was doing some research, just talking about like I can't remember what website it was on, but literally the first key risk factor for suicide, the first one that they mentioned was being a man. Being a man puts you more at risk for self-harming yourself and suicide. So if that gives you an idea of how big of an issue it is. Like, this isn't even talking about veterans. Like, veteran suicide is huge, but just like men's suicide as a whole is just, since 2020, it's just skyrocketed. It used to be like 1.5%, but now it's up to 3.88. More likely than women to die by suicide. So that was a little heavy, but I don't know if you guys want to go into kind of, you know, go into stats. If any of you have any stories that, you know, you think would be helpful today. Otherwise, we can just, you know, go over stats and then talk about charities. And Raptor has been raising money for charity in his Twitch streams. I know that's a big thing for him. I don't want to dominate the conversation, so if there's anything that you guys have to add, you're more than welcome to.
Hangry's too polite. You talk too damn much. No, I'm kidding.
Just let him go. Let him go.
He's too polite. He's like, I'm
Well,
like, pull up.
I've been fairly blessed. I've never friends or family members have never attempted or um, uh, done it. I've had to talk a few of my friends off the edge. Same issues where life just beats them down and beat them just, I've had it. I'm tired of getting kicked around. Never got the feeling that they were going to try anything, but just for their own mental health, just trying to walk them through and let them know they could always talk, they could always reach out. In most cases, if I know them, they have my number, and I tell them I'm 24/7, whatever. You can reach out, call me. If you call me at 3 or 4 in the morning, I might be a little bit. You might need to give me a few minutes, but I will be there for you. Where was I going with this? But I think over the past couple years, and you'd mentioned the statistics for white men, kind of echoes back at our last our last meeting, where we feel that we are always, the providers. We always have to make sure that uh, we're in. I don't want to say in charge, but we always have the answers. We always the ones to look up to. And I think over the last couple years, 2020 especially, that kind of flipped on us, where the whole world changed, and all of a sudden we might be the ones in need of being able to reach out, to talk, or and I'm sure there's a large percentage of us that didn't really feel comfortable doing that. Um, Either going to a significant other or looking for outside help and resources to talk about their mental health, because it's not something they ever thought about. They always picture themselves as being the ones that everyone went to for help, and all of a sudden that's flipped on its head. And I think that's the reason you're seeing a lot of those statistics where the whole world got turned upside down. And I know you mentioned the millionaires and billionaires, but I mean, how often have you heard Robin Williams as an example, Chester Bennington, top of the world? You look out from the outside in, you think they have everything, but internally they feel that the world is a better place without them. But looking at them, you think they have the world in their hands. So it doesn't spare anybody. Doesn't care if you have money, doesn't care if you're rich, poor, black, white, male, female. Um, if you need help, you need to reach out. And I think that's, if anyone gets that from these podcasts, I think we scored a victory.
Yeah, I was you mentioned Robin Williams, and that one definitely, when it happened, it definitely took me by storm, because he puts on a really good face. Like out in public, you would not think that he was struggling, but call back to last episode, he was, he's the alpha male. He's the one that did anything and everything for everybody else, but never for himself, and it led to his own detriment. It's a really, really, really messy thing to navigate, because things the way that they are, you don't want to say the wrong thing. You don't want to make someone feel like their feelings are invalid. You don't want to make someone, you don't want to make light of a situation that someone's going through, because while it might feel like a speed bump for you, it's a cliff for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not attached to pets. My last pet, I was like 12 or 13. It was a dog I loved, and the dog had to be put down, and haven't really attached myself to a pet since. So like, while I can understand the feeling of loss of losing a pet, I personally don't have that connection. Like, I've never, been around pets my whole life. It's only for like a certain period, and now almost gonna be 33. I haven't had a pet since I was 12. So I don't have that connection like other people do. So for me, like in that situation yesterday, that was hard for me to navigate because I didn't want to make his feelings, feel invalid, because I don't have the same attachment like he does. So we just want to make sure that we don't make light of any situation. Like I said, it's a speed bump for some and it's a cliff for another. Yeah, it's just really messy.
And you always want to take it seriously. Obviously, you don't want to think that they're just messing around. They're just saying things to say things. You always want to take it seriously because God forbid, like you do make light of it and you do put it on the back burner, and they are serious about it. I'm sure it's going to run through your head like, well, wow, okay, that he was serious. I should have taken that to heart, and I can't imagine. So if anyone comes at you, even even if you think they're making light of it, you do want to treat it as a serious situation.
Ever joke about that ever. That's not appropriate to the other side too. Like don't joke about that. I know a lot of people today find that hilarious to say that in conversation. Okay. The whole I'm gonna kill myself as a joke. Don't do that. That's very not good, and it makes people who actually have dealt with it or recovered from it or been through anything around it just pissed off at you. That's all it does.
Great point. That's a great point.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, all sides of this are hurting. The ones going through the situation, the ones that have to live with the fallout of the deed being done. I know I've had a couple friends in high school that committed suicide because things just got too hard. One friend didn't get into the college he wanted to get into. For me personally, I don't understand. I couldn't understand why that would be a reason to do it, but for them, that was their reason. They had everything on the line for this one school and they didn't get it. They didn't have the right scores, or they did, maybe they didn't have the tuition money for it. And so they were, passed over for this opportunity. And they, that was their driving point. So, if they didn't have that, what was the point? And then the other friend is a girlfriend since like elementary school. So like 5th grade all the way up to senior in high school. They were sweethearts. They were going to get married, and she cheated on him. And that completely devastated him. And, in high school, you didn't think that, someone in your class would commit suicide. He was the first one. The other one happened when the kid didn't get into the college. But when his girl cheated on him, that was the last straw for him. He's like, what's the point of living? I dedicated the majority of my life to this one person, and then, they do this. And that was the first one we heard about. And, we would talk in, conversations, and he would make, little remarks about, what's the point of living? In, being in high school, I didn't think anything of it. Didn't think that, he was going to do anything like that, because he never did anything bad like that. And, after the weekend was over, found out he hung himself. It's really, really hard to fathom. And, there's some days where I think in my head, what could I have done? Maybe he could still be here. So like to Hangry's point, kind of wrapping your head around, like, what could I have done? That's why when a moment of crisis happened yesterday, I didn't let it sit. Because I could have just easily let him, wallow in his own, pity, and, have all these bad thoughts go through his head. And then I come, maybe today I would have found out he ended himself, and I couldn't live with myself if that was the case. That's why I acted. That's why I dropped what I was doing. We pulled into Hy-Vee parking lot. The wife and daughter went in to grab stuff from the store, and I just sat there, and I was a little keyboard warrior. I was making sure he didn't feel alone, make sure he didn't, have any moment of aloneness. And I'll be quite frank, I was scared to death. I thought, I could slip up at any moment, let a message go longer than a minute, make light of the situation, make him feel worse than he does just by the wrong keystroke. It was terrifying. And I told Faith that I probably are going to cry just because I'm reliving the moment yesterday. It was really hard to deal with. Just, you never want to lose a friend. Never want to lose anybody, because your words didn't come out the way that you wanted them to. I don't know. I couldn't live with myself if I didn't do something. And
yeah.
That's why I was so quick to change the subject of today's episode. We could have easily capitalized on the trial and, pivoted over to domestic violence. So easy. Like, I already had notes. I just shelved them for another episode because this is more important. Just really hard to deal with. And then as I'm thinking of this situation, I know Raptor's story. I know bits and pieces, the stuff that he's, with his brother. And, I think Raptor, in my head, I probably thought Raptor was busy, and so I didn't reach out to him. But when I was typing out the messages, I'm just thinking, what would Raptor do? Because he's the person that I know that, had a moment that hit closer to home than I did. I just had friends that, died by suicide, but he had family, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't make a mistake. So I would, kind of channeled what I think Raptor would have said. So
I think you did good, man. He's still here.
Yeah. Doesn't mean it wasn't hard.
That's great news.
And that's a soul crushing burden to take onto yourself, bro. Like, trust me, it is. Don't do that to yourself, man. He's here. Reach out to him from now on, make sure he's good. And he'll be your friend for life. You know what I mean? Don't burden yourself with that. Don't burden yourself with the what ifs and what if I didn't. Don't do that. He's here.
Yeah.
You only do that if they're not here. Because then you can't get an answer to that question. All right? Don't take that on yourself.
So to follow up with that, I know this part's probably gonna be a little hard for you, but I don't personally have like the experience that comes with dealing with the fallout. Like I said, they were friends of mine in high school. I didn't know their family a whole lot. I didn't really stick around. So if you can kind of talk about some of the fallout that you had to deal with, that way we can better help others know what's on the other side of it.
This is the most serious the internet has ever seen me, by the way. Yeah, usually I'm the hype guy, making the jokes, having a good time. But yeah, I mean, I'm a human being too. Yeah, what I will say is suicide doesn't end your pain, it just spreads it out to everybody else you love. That's what it does. And I'm not saying that to be a dick. I'm saying that because I've seen it. Because again, like Soaring was talking about, everybody that's left, that loved you in some way, or remembered meeting you at the bookstore and you were nice to them, any good deed you've ever done, you know, all of that is what they'll remember. And they're going to ask themselves why. They're going to ask, what could I have done? They're going to ask, what didn't I say? Maybe I should have talked to him more. Maybe I could have been a better friend, brother, mother, father. You know, that's what they're going to ask. They're going to ask themselves forever. And if you know, that you truly cause more pain by being gone than you would by trying to mend those relationships, trying to have those conversations, trying to, you know, make the bad things that you see in your life right. Try, continue. You've got nothing but time. You know what I mean? That's what I'll say. You've got nothing but time. I mean, trust me. I've been through some stuff. I understand. I understand things are difficult. You know, my life has not been easy. I'm sure none of ours has. It has not been easy. It's still not easy. You know what I mean? But it doesn't mean I don't try to find the good. You know, I try to find the good in everyone and everything. Even when somebody's being, you know, super disrespectful, I try and think maybe they're having a bad day. Maybe they got into a car wreck. You know, stuff like that. Try and look at the good. See the good. Be grateful for what you have. It's a gift. You know, don't spread your pain out to everyone else. They deserve better than that, and so do you.
I think when people are going through a moment of pain, they kind of mask the good that's going on in their life. I know in the whole conversation, this probably sounds silly, but like, I know sometimes when we have family dinner with the kids, we say grace and we start eating, and you know, one is like, what was the best thing that happened to you today? Or my daughter's really weird. She's like, what kind of interesting conversations did you have? So, like, you know, think about the good that's going on in your life. Like, yeah, shit happens, but you know what? At the end of the day, you know, there's a story where the dad would kind of like touch a tree before he comes in the house, and then he's like the best dad. You know, he's playing with his kids, he's helpful to his wife, and then at the, you know, beginning of the next day, he touches that tree, and then he goes on to work. And the daughter is like, why do you keep touching the tree before you come in and as soon as you leave to go to work? And he says, oh, I'm just leaving my day there. Like, you don't need to know about my work. I'm here to be your dad. I'm here to be the husband. So you're going to kind of leave your day out, you know, on this tree. So, you know, life sucks. Not good for anybody. You know, there's some times where I'm negative in my bank account and I just have to kind of limp it till Friday when I get paid. You know, there's moments where like, oh shit, really need to pay that bill. And, you know, kind of just have to just go about it. Oh yeah, I could stress about it. I could worry about it, but who's that really going to help? Not going to help my kids, because then they're just going to see their dad all stressed off and wonder why he's, you know, pissed off and not wanting to play with me. Or, you know, my spouse could be upset that, you know, she's telling me we did the budget, it's going to be okay, just got to get it to Friday, it's going to be all right. And, you know, I'm sitting here just worrying for no reason. Life is going to suck, but that should never be an excuse to just up and end it for any reason. Like, you can tell me 100 different reasons, none of them are good enough for you to end yourself. Because like Raptor said, if you know, all you're doing is just spreading that pain out to multiple people. It could be 100, it could be 2. But they're going to be in pain for the rest of their life, wondering what if. So, you know, yeah, yesterday was stressful. He's still here. So that's a victory. But, you know, now we got to try and help other people. That's why we're doing this episode. Yeah, did I cry? Guess what? Sure did. You know what? We're going to keep going. So we're going to talk about a little bit of some stats. I grabbed these from the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. They have, I'm mainly just focused on men. I know women suffer from suicide too. I know like some of the causes that, some of the ways that they go about suicide is less graphic, but that doesn't mean it doesn't happen. It still happens, but we at We4John, we're going to be male focused just because everyone in this group is guys. We cannot speak to the female experience. It's not because we can't, it's just because we're not equipped. So I shouldn't have any say of what you go through. So,
and we're all married. That would not be very smart.
No. Although I have toyed with the idea of having a wife or like a significant other led episode. That'd be fun later on. But for right now, all these stats are going to be focused on men, just because we're all guys here. We want to make sure that you guys know the stats, because sometimes knowing the information can help you in either saving your own life or saving someone else's. So I'm gonna, just quick run through the stats. We're going to talk about some of the charities. I know Raptor, he does work for NAMI, and so if you wanted to talk about NAMI here soon, he can. There's a couple other different charities that we personally recommend. If you're going to do any work for them, use these three, just because they're the most successful in what they do. So stats from the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. They say that suicide is the 12th leading cause of death in the US. I would hate to see what the other 11 are, but that's pretty high up. Like, of all the things you can die from, suicide, that's really high up on the list. That's sad. We need to make that much lower on the list. Before we go into any more stats, I just want to let you know that if you're listening to this episode, just know that you are loved. Every single one of us here, we love you. We're here for you. Whether you email us through the business email that's in the show notes, or you DM us on Twitter, we're here for you. We're not professionals. We're just normal, ordinary dudes. But you know what? If you need help, we're willing to help. So like I said, you are loved. You're deserving of love, and not worth throwing away. They reported in 2020 that there was 45,907 American deaths by suicide. And then to go with that, there was 1.2 million suicide attempts that were estimated. That is a huge number. The rate of suicide is highest amongst middle-aged white men. So all three of us that are here, we're highest risk.
Middle-aged? What? No, hold on. Wait a minute.
I'm 33, so
I'm
That's
well
not
above
middle-aged.
middle-aged.
Middle-aged? This man's making me sound ancient.
you're not ancient. You're young to heart.
Middle-aged. Middle-aged is like 50. That's literally the middle.
Well, kind of depends on your diet and your lifestyle choices.
Oh, then I'm way over. Never mind.
We're laughing at our jokes, not these stats.
No, I'm trying to break up the tension.
I know.
This is the heheaviest. I'm trying to, I'm trying to be Raptor right now. I'm not
future episodes will be a little bit more light. In 2020, they reported that men died by suicide 3.88 times more than women, and that white males accounted for 69.68% of those suicide deaths. The biggest leading factor is, highest key risk was being a man, but the second was kind of falling into the gender stereotype of being the tough and strong one. They reported that, being the tough and strong one that doesn't allow for failure perhaps causes men to select a more violent and lethal method. The ones that they mentioned were like inhaling exhaust fumes, so the hose from your exhaust pipe into your cab. If you are unmarried, you were more likely to hang yourself. And if you were married, you're more likely to use a handgun or a rifle or shotgun to end yourself. So, yeah. What would being married have to do with why you would use such a more violent version of
Because
suicide?
you wouldn't want your spouse to find you like that. A gunshot. And I'll tell you this from experience, a gunshot is cleaned up by the police. So they won't let anybody into the house.
Gotcha. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, but a hanging is very difficult to report because it's silent.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
A gunshot is very loud. Somebody's going to call the cops immediately, and then there you go.
Mm.
Now it's very neat and clean, I guess.
All of it is tragic.
Yeah, it
Those
is.
statistics are a little sobering.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's definitely puts things kind of in perspective when you look at the stats, and then you kind of like reflect on your own life and the feelings that you have. Yeah, like we've said multiple times, life gets hard, but reach out if you need help. We'll give hotlines at the end, and then we'll also put them in the show notes. But I don't want to be a downer for too much longer. I know everybody's time is precious, so just a couple charities I wanted to highlight, and I'll gloss over NAMI just because I want Raptor to talk about it because he's been doing the most work for them. But of the charities, NAMI has like a 4-star plus impact rating, which just means that they have like the biggest reach, the biggest, like the biggest, what's the word? Like impact in that scope, just because they have, not only do they have experts working in their facility to kind of, give all the different like psychological, goes over all the different stats. Like they can break it down even further than what the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention came up with. Their stats are pretty significant. It's definitely sobering when you go over it. But the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, they're another foundation. If you want to be an advocate, you can go to their website and scroll down to the bottom, and they'll give you all the tools you need. You're able to print off their fact sheets, and you can kind of break it down by age group. So definitely reach out to them if you want to help prevent suicide. And another one is the Trevor Project. They're a little bit more LGBTQ focused in their impact, but that doesn't mean that they're not important. They typically focus on age groups 13 to 24. So if you are led to help the LGBTQ community, definitely raise money for the Trevor Project. They are, all of these that we're listing, they're all a great help. And any money that they raise is going to be put to good use. And the last one that we want to talk about is NAMI. So Raptor in his streams, he's raising money currently for NAMI. So anytime if you're in his stream, definitely type in !charity. It'll pop up the link. Definitely donate. It's a great organization, and if Raptor wants to talk about them.
Yeah, I will. The National Alliance on Mental Illness, excuse me. They are a very large global outreach program that gives resources and experience and education to those who have been impacted or are directly affected by mental illness. It's a cause that's very, very near and dear to my heart. Mental illness runs in my family pretty heavily, actually. I got very, very, very lucky that it skipped me, but it runs very heavy in my family. So, I've seen firsthand the damage that it can cause, the impacts that it can have on a number of different things, and it's very important to me to help find a cure, to help educate people on how to deal with mental illness, and to provide resources for people that don't feel like they have any. They're a fantastic charity, and that's why I work with them. So I appreciate that.
So I want to end the episode a little bit lighter tone, but just to kind of go over the episode as a whole. Me and Tier Milner on the next episode will kind of go a little bit more into detail, have a little bit like a one-on-one conversation, and we'll continue talking about suicide prevention. But just know that you're not alone. You never will experience anything alone. It might feel alone in your moment of need, but definitely reach out. Whether that's any one of us in the podcast or a helpline that we suggest in the show notes, reach out if you're in crisis, because I will tell you, this world is a hell of a lot better with you in it than it is with you out of it. There's no amount of pain that you can go through that can really justify you doing that kind of harm to yourself. Like I said, reach out to any one of us, reach out to the helplines we suggest. This world needs you, and I would love to have you in this world. I would love you to, possibly give us a question that we can answer on the podcast, or connect with us. Maybe see you in Twitch chat. That'd be awesome. But you are so needed in this world. So definitely use the What's up?
I'm gonna second that. I'm gonna tell you right now, if you need help, if you don't think you got anybody to listen, you send me a message, send me an email, send me a DM, find me in a Discord, come into my Twitch, whatever you need to do, and you're gonna have an ear. I'm gonna tell you right now, you're gonna have an ear. Because if nobody will listen, maybe you just haven't found the right person to talk to. All right.
So you're needed in this world. We all need you. So we're going to go ahead and cut this really hard subject in half, kind of end a little bit light, and then I'll do the call to action. All right. So every time I either come in contact with a new person, or like a new coworker, or I get to a new job and I kind of want to like scope out like what kind of person this is, I typically will ask the same question, and based on the answer, I typically will kind of figure out like what kind of person they are. So the question I always ask people is, if you had $20 million, all taxes were paid, what would you do with it? Now, before you answer, the reason why I ask that question is based on their answer, it kind of tells me a little bit about themselves. If they immediately say they're going to buy a bunch of stuff, that tells me that they're a material person, and they're going to be a little bit more driven to maybe putting in more hours at work so they have more money to work with, or in the light case, they might manipulate their time clock to get the same effect. If they mention that they want to help family in any capacity, that tells me that they are a family oriented person and they're willing to put their family above and beyond. Because if that's the first answer that they give, $20 million, that's a lot of money. But like, if the first thing they say is family, that tells me that they're the kind of person I want to be with, because I like family oriented people. And then the last person, if they mention they're going to blow their money on, hookers and drugs, then obviously that person is not the person I need to talk to, and cut the conversation right there. And let's go on to the next one. So like I said, if you had $20 million, all taxes paid, so you don't have to worry about taxes. Uncle Sam's important, but in this scenario, that's already paid for. So what would you do?
Someone else paid the taxes. Someone else. Elon Musk paid the taxes. Okay. He's gonna buy this recording.
If he wants to, all for it.
He'll buy the internet just to get to it. I heard my name. I would buy everybody I knew a house, set my daughter up with a college fund because she's not gonna skate through life, and then donate the rest to charity after I pay my bills. And I would just keep grinding, because I would get too bored if I did nothing.
I would most likely, my first call would be to my financial advisor. Invest this so I can live off the interest for the rest of my life. I'd probably buy property near Disney, um, out west, near some sort of ski resort, rent them out, live off that income, and stay there whenever I want to. And then once I'm kind of taken care of and I know everything's working the way it should, pay off debts, pay off my family's debts, buy them houses, like Raptor said. Set up everyone I know. If no one I know would be in debt if I had that kind of money.
What's this man with this adult ass answer? I would call my
I'm an
financial
adult ass
advisor.
person.
I would speak to my financial advisor and move money into a Roth IRA account.
You don't want me investing. I'd probably like invest it in Nerf or something like that and lose it overnight. I don't know.
Invest in Kodak.
Kodak.
Ooh.
There you go.
You know, it's funny, Hangry was giving off his answer, and I thought about the TikTok sound saying, I'm a material girl, because he was mentioning all the things that he would do. That's funny. So usually the answer that I give is, you know, I would cut that in half. Invest 50% of it, just so that me and my family is pretty big. So like, I have 2 kids and a wife, but you know, it's not just going to be them. It's going to be my brothers and sisters, my parents, my aunt, my grandparents. You know, definitely take care of them. But at the other,
gerbil.
but the other side of it is that, you know, being part of Twitch and having more friends here, I would definitely, you know, set all my friends, my only Twitch friends, up for life too. I talked about, you know, I would love to have like a PC shop that I can like build PCs for streamers. I would definitely dope everybody out with like the biggest and baddest machine that you could think of. Man, you could run Stanley Parable in like 8K 120 frames per second.
Worth it.
Bro, you pay my monthly bills, I'll be your personal entertainment. How you like that? I'll play whatever you want, buddy.
But
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I would put up for plane tickets for everyone to come by, and we would have we'd have a pretty interesting party.
Dom Perignon with his financial advisor.
Dom Perignon, no.
So, yeah, so we're going to go ahead and call this episode pretty much done. Like I said, the next episode will be my one-on-one with Tier Munir. We'll continue the conversation. I'll have some different talking points and kind of just, you know, pick his brain about some things. And, you know, over time I'll have one-on-ones with the other guys that are here, because each one has a different unique perspective, and a one-on-one kind of, you know, gives me the opportunity to kind of pick their brains, learn more about their community from a non-group setting, and definitely want to get in touch with everyone that's here and learn more about them, especially things that, you know, they don't personally put on the internet for everyone to see. But
you can't have feet pics. We spoke of this. I'm not making an OnlyFans.
No. I didn't say OnlyFans. I said only feet.
Oh, there's a difference.
That's worse.
But so if you found this episode helpful, or you want to suggest you know, future topics for us to cover, the best way that you can do that is to leave a review on any of the podcast apps that we're on. As of right now, we're on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Pocket Casts. More will be coming soon. So like I said, best way to suggest those would be leave a review, put your question in that review, and then we'll start compiling reviews and read them while on the podcast.
I'm going to leave a review. It says this podcast sucks.
And you know what? Their opinions are valid, whether they're right or
I'm
wrong.
going to put my name on it and everything. Slash Raptor.
Also, going forward, instead of like typing out everybody's socials in the show notes, I will just be listing everybody's Twitter accounts, just so that you can click it. It automatically goes to their Twitter account, and most of us have like a link in their bio type deal to kind of go over all their different socials. Just kind of clean things up, do a little house cleaning. Yeah. So that's it for this episode. Just remember, when life gets you down, stand tall and we forge on.